Okay, good morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Junichi Mori, Vice President for International Relations of Kyoto University. And it is my great honor and pleasure to welcome you to our workshop, the workshop on the US-India-Japan Business Alliance, USINJA. It sounds like a US ninja, but very fortunately, unfortunately, without N. Before we begin today's workshop, please allow me to introduce briefly the US-Japan Research Institute, the USJI. The USJI is a research institute which was founded 3 years ago by 5 leading Japanese universities. The founding universities are Kyoto University, Keio University, the University of Tokyo, Ritsumeikan University, and Waseda University. The USJI's mission is to contribute to academic research activities to form a bridge between the United States and Japan. The USJI holds many seminars and workshops, and every spring and autumn, the USJI holds Japan Week, during which researchers from the 5 founding universities come to Washington, D.C. to present a series of workshops. As you may know, this year is a special year for the relationship between Washington, D.C. and Japan. As a Sakura Matsuri, or special Sakura Matsuri, or Cherry Blossom Festival, is being held here this week. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the presentation of a gift of 3,000 cherry trees to the city of Washington by Mayor Yukio Ozaki of Tokyo City in March 1912. The trees were presented as a symbol of the friendship between the United States and Japan. Therefore, the USJI is holding USJI Japan Week in Washington during the Sakura Matsuri this year. I'd like to introduce today's workshop, the workshop on the US-India-Japan Business Alliance. The world is changing very rapidly nowadays. Particularly drastic changes are occurring in the geopolitical and economic landscape. For many years, the US had the largest GNP in the world, followed by Japan. Recently, however, China has overtaken Japan in this regard, and other countries, such as the so-called BRICS, countries are following in China's footsteps. Many factors are contributing to the upside of such emerging countries. Factors such as drastically improved communication technologies, more efficient transportation systems, and surging direct investment by foreign countries have enabled these countries to achieve rapid and stable economic development. In the meantime, the developed countries such as the US, Europe, and Japan have been suffering from banking crisis, accumulating national debts, deflationary pressure, and slow growth. It is not necessary to stress the importance of India in this changing world. India, with its enormous diversified population, rich cultural heritage, and democratic system, is also gaining economic and political power. In a geopolitical sense, India can be seen as a counterweight to China. Therefore, the business alliance between the US, Japan, and India is a topic ripe for discussion. This workshop was organized by Dr. Gordon Ray and Dr. Kiyoshi Kobayashi. Dr. Kobayashi is a dean of Kyoto University's Management School, and Dr. Ray is a professor in the same school. I'd like to thank Dr. Kobayashi and Dr. Ray for organizing the workshop, and I also would like to welcome the workshop's distinguished invited speakers. Before we proceed with the workshop, I must also mention one more important thing. The sponsor of this workshop is supported by the S&R Foundation. The S&R Foundation is a non-profit organization in Washington, D.C. that supports culture and educational activities of young generation. The S&R Foundation was founded by its current president, Dr. Sachiko Kuno, and its honorary chair, Dr. Ryuji Ueno. I am very proud to say that Dr. Kuno is an alumni member of Kyoto University. Today, we are also honored that Ms. Kei Toriba, Executive Vice President of the S&R Foundation, is attending the meeting. Ms. Toriba, thank you very much. And I hope that you will all actively participate in and enjoy today's workshop. And now, without further ado, I'd like to pass the baton to Dr. Gautam Ray. So, would you please?
Kyoshi. Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Today I wish to talk on my general view on the emerging knowledge world society in the 21st centuries. And let me start my discussions by use my favorite argument. It's driven by Skidowski. In his famous book, Joyless Economies, he forecast 21st century. His book published in 1950s. Okay, in one sense, he is good. He was right. Okay, 21st centuries we have knowledge societies. Okay, but he expected in 21st centuries. Okay, people in the knowledge societies, people is very busy, and they wish to meet others, but pressure, with the pressure of the increased time values, the interactability will be discouraged. This was his forecasting, but in reality, his forecasting is wrong. Okay, and so this is very simple formula. Okay, and so which may express Skidowski ideas. Okay, 0.5, 0.5, P. P means the probability you agree to meet others. Okay, and your opponent have the same probabilities. Okay, so the meeting realizes that both parties agree to meet the others. Okay, so if the people is not so busy, okay, so probability may be 0.5. Okay, 0.5 times 0.5 makes 0.25. Okay, it means you may meet your friends every 4 days. But if the probabilities decrease to 0.01, okay, 0.01 times 0.01 makes 0.0001. Okay, so it means you never meet your friends in your life. This was his forecasting, but the reality is wrong. Okay, it's different. Our probability to meet others is not decreased at all, even increase. Okay, we conquer Skidowski model, no, by changing more and more exciting partners. Okay. But these situations had been realized by thanks to the advent of the new high transportation technology, new IT technologies. Okay, so by seeking more and more relevant friends, we overcome Skidowski's doom's ideas. Okay. So I think this is reality tells major driving force for globalizations. Okay, our sphere for daily activities expand all the times. Okay, so we can go US by the use of the flight. Okay, and tomorrow so we go back to Japan, so, but anyhow, so I can attend this conference. And this is the fruit of the improved transportation technologies. Okay, and this simple formula has implies intelligence scale behind the mechanisms. Okay, so there say some important economic rules, strategic complementarities, dominate our market. Okay, this is a very famous stories. Okay, and a lot of economists investigated the economist societies where the strategic complementarity functions. Okay, the most typical achievement, literatures, driven by Chiron. Okay, so he defines two-sided market. Okay, credit cards, Visa, Mastercards, American Express. This is a very important examples of the two-sided market. Okay, so the definitions of two-sided market. Okay, so Rochette and Chiron manifest the market where performance enable interaction between end users and try to get the two sides on board by appropriately pricing each side. Okay, and so there are some good examples. Okay, what is the outcomes of two-sided market? The most important characteristic of the two-sided market is the system competitions. Okay, so what I wish to call this kind of models, Silicon Valley Hollywood models. Okay, so the most important characteristic is a self-destruction process of market. Look at television market. Okay, television markets are going to disappear. Okay, if Apple's and Google's a lot of important IT technologies, okay. And so standardizations, this is also important, this aspect of the market. Okay. But today, I wish to focus upon a little bit different words. Okay, a lot of literatures have already published in discussing what is the system of competitions. Okay, so if you visit academic journals, you can find an enormous number of the papers discussing these matters. But today, I wish to say very new economies. I don't know how to name this kind of economies, but temporarily, I wish to call this economies dialectic innovative market. Moe models. Later on, you understand what is Moe. Okay. And this market is characterized by, several peculiar characteristics. Many creators, deep specializations, and a small size market. Enormous amount of the small size market. This is a typical feature of the Moe models. Okay. Okay, and this model is a very good vehicle, to express the recent trend of Japanese economies. And as you may know, Richard Florida, he wrote a very stimulating book on creative class. Okay, and he mentions three important factors characterize creative cities. That is the talent, technologies, and tolerance. Okay, but I prefer to discuss on the last factors, tolerance. This is a very important factors and associated with the social resources in the economies. Okay, and Silicon Valley Hollywood models. Okay, so this is based upon the tolerance for getting new talent. Okay, but Moe, you understand the right-hand side. This guy is called Moe. Okay, Moe means rare fire, sweats, or love for certain fictional characters in anime, manga, and the like. Okay, so we call Moe, okay, in Japanese. Okay, this kind of characters. And the Moe model, okay, and this is based upon the tolerance for getting, reputations. Okay, and so this is a very new models, copy tolerant models. Okay, a lot of copies are made regarding content. Okay, how to avoid the copies? It's a very difficult to prevent. Okay, rather, the boy model, prefer to the copy tolerant. Okay, and say open context and quickly evolutions. Okay, quick evolutions. So this is very important factors of the boy models. Okay, you know that this shops. This is Shibuya 109. I say some newspaper journal report. This is the most profitable buildings per floors areas. Okay, so this shops selling little bit specialized item subject. Okay, so very cheap ones. Okay, so only high-teen girls gathered together all over the world to purchase this very cheap subject. Okay, but this shop, okay, this shop sells, a very special item for, say, hiding girls, okay, girls, and so they change the model, every 3 days or to every 10 days. Very quick, say changing societies. Okay. And this is a consequence, okay, you can find. I don't know you you prefer to these situations. Nevertheless, this is a reality. Okay, a lot of the girls, wear very strange costumes. Okay, okay. This I took this photo from the TV. Okay, so the very famous journalist asked her, okay, so are you a student? Yes, I'm a student. She says, what is the university? Oh, University of Tokyo. The same university you graduated. Okay, this was her answers. Okay, this is a very typical, girls fashions. Okay, and I took these photos from Facebook. Okay, this is some sort of maid cafe in Mexico City. Okay, so this kind of cultures, used to be the subcultures, now they're very globalized. Okay, my daughter says, okay, Mexican costume is a little too much behind Japan's. Okay, you can compare the right-hand side, left-hand side. Okay, you can identify difference if you have knowledge. Okay, you can do. Okay, and so this is, you may know, Hatsune Miku. Okay, so this is a very, virtual, idols. Okay, and so you can find on YouTube a lot of movies uploaded. Okay, they are self-made. Okay, so one company sells movie making softwares. Okay, so people make their own movies uploading the YouTube. Okay, and so this is another example. Okay, and this is some cost structures. This is some statistics. Okay, Uniqlo. I don't know. This is maybe wrong. Uniqlo thing. Okay, but this is cost structures. Okay, and you can find shops revenues occupy 34%. Okay, so Uniqlo gains Uniqlo profits amounts to 8%, quite high. Okay, and the manufacturing production cost only 20%. Transportation cost occupy only 5%. Okay, so lots of profits driven by making the content. Okay, but still some sort of loss of mismatching amount to 20%. How to reduce this kind of loss? Okay, unsold materials. Okay, how to reduce? That is the source of the genius. Okay, and I speak, Okay, but this is a very fascinating business models. Uniqlo has their own companies. They dispatch their orders, through the internet. Okay, and one trading companies, okay, Sumitomo Shoji operates the database. Okay, Uniqlo inputs the data to this database. Okay, and given the data, a lot of group industries automatically, produce according to the database. Okay, and the most important things are deliveries. Okay, this is outcomes of computer time-space management. Okay, this figure illustrates where the subject commodities are moving. Okay, and so vertical lines means time dimensions, horizontal is place. Okay, so how the commodity is moving on globes. Okay, this can be 1 minute.
Sorry.
Oh, okay. And okay, I wish to speak many things. Okay, and advanced long tail models. Okay, so this is realized. Okay, say very small amount of the fixed cost. Okay, lot of the variety can come in. Okay, so Hollywood's models say there are some very high some thresholds, but say more model is very low. It's very easy to come in. Okay, and I skip many. Sorry. Okay. So many. Okay.
Questions.
So many. Oh yes, and this is a very typical, say Kyoto business model. So okay, you may know some. I'm very much interested. This is a kind of prototype of the new type of business model called MOE. Okay, and but this is okay very difficult to understand. But certain foreign professors start to learn how to enjoy with my class. Okay, so this is my last slide. Okay. So I wish to epitomize in my presentation. So the new creative society is coming. Okay, this in other words, this society can be characterized. This is the key word. It cook one's own food economies. Okay. Creativity, creations, and reputations. This is a very important, driving force of the economies. In the new creative society, the food quality is enhanced by various participants creating content and to criticize reputations with each other, learning through interactions. This could be one of the new models in the knowledge society in 21st century. Thank you very much.
Or comments? Question or comments? If not, then
I will proceed. Well, everybody I have come across with some independent thinking has asked me this question. What is it that you are trying to do? Where is India coming in this USJI scheme of things? Whether 3 is better than 2 or we do not know. It depends on the context and situation. So, but today I will start by giving a kind of a definition. It's very difficult to give the definitional attributes to the evolving notion like this, but I'll try. It is a transnational alliance, as you can see from the very name, US, India, Japan. It's basically for promoting business opportunities in these 3 countries. This alliance is not necessarily at firm levels. It can transcend firm levels, it suit a farmer, transcend even national levels. So it is, but it includes, it's all-encompassing actually. Alliances of governments, industry leaders, public policy makers, academic scholars and civil societies, which enable individual firms. That's very important. This knowledge or the output of this alliance must enable individual firms to forge constructive partnership. It's not defect, it's a de facto partnership with the host state and society or community, because normally partnership is understood to be some kind of cooperation arrangements through formal or informal contracts. It may not actually, there may not be any formal or informal contract in this transnational alliance. There will be some kind of, there is some kind of understanding about the basic ethos of alliance. So we'll come to that. Like all business alliances, however, USINJA creates value through effective and efficient combination of resources provided by the alliance partners, including state and society. This is, as I said, this is not very easily formed at the individual level because of two factors. The managers of individual firms have a shorter decision horizon for business in any foreign location. Normally in Japan, they give a posting when they go to India. Japanese managers, they have a 3-year posting, and 3 year is a short decision horizon for the manager. So what does he do? Will he get into the rough side of entering into some alliances and incur risk? He would not do that. So, and also he will say to the banker who is a creditor that, look, if I want to do this, it will involve huge transaction costs and risks, but you don't get immediate return out of this, and we don't know, future is uncertain, so would you do that? But I would say yes, you should do that. Why? Because otherwise, value creation activities cannot be managed both efficiently and effectively. Because the fact that you want to, the essence of managing any business or business alliance is to reach the efficiency frontier, efficiency and responsiveness frontier. And you cannot do that unless you forge an alliance. And the problem that comes with in such a situation at the firm level is that the manager doesn't want to forge an alliance because he doesn't know, actually, he has some knowledge deficit about the critical contribution of Indian social, cultural and political resources in optimizing value creation of their businesses. He doesn't have a full grasp on that. And here the agency cost, that is the interest of the short manager who is posted for a short period of time, is not necessarily aligned with the interest of the shareholders or stakeholders who have a longer time horizon. So that involves effective monitoring of the manager posted in a foreign location by a central authority here, who also are equally ignorant about the dynamics, local dynamics of Indian businesses. So it doesn't, so therefore no. So it's kind of a prisoner's dilemma outcome. So what takes it out of this vicious cycle is the bridging of the knowledge deficit. And so the idea of this workshop is that it will provide a forum or platform for starting to gather some ideas and information about what exactly would facilitate this forging of alliances at the firm level. Now, business alliances are basically cooperative arrangements worked out by resource providers for optimizing value creation, given the prevailing political, social and cultural constraints at the time and location of business. Now, these prevailing political, social and cultural constraints, if those constraints are relaxed as the society is dynamic and moving towards evolution, you know, Indian society is extremely dynamic. It has gone through literally silent revolution in terms of realignment of power equations among the castes, and the consequential benefit that it has come from empowerment of the lower and so-called excluded sections of the society to the and now they are included in the economic mainstream, and that has really set in motion a consumption-led growth model. It's a kind of an inclusive model, we can claim. That and this inclusiveness is increasing because we are seeing continuous transfer of power from the Brahminical elites to the lower and marginal section of the society. So with that, the society is dynamic, is mobile, and larger pool of consuming population who have now got the value of education also in that through Sanskritization movement and social and cultural evolution over the last 50 years or so, which has led to a society whose tastes and preferences are now really endogenous. It is no longer exogenous. Because aspiration level is increasing. People want to really consume like their the elites among the upper class among those players, you know, the aspirational within the aspirational window, and therefore that process has really expanded the consumption market in India. So the business is actually a set of or union of alliances that is intra-farm and inter-farm alliances at the industry level, alliances of farms with the state and alliances of farms with the society and community at the location of the business. So there are basically, I'll show you a diagram. This is industry farm, this is state institutions, this is society community. Now, value augmentation through business alliance is through this triangular interface among the industry, state and society. Now, let us go back to the basic philosophy here is that these alliances are sustainable only if they are undergirded by legitimacy capital. And the legitimate claims and expectations of state, society and community from the businesses are however non-quantifiable. They cannot be quantified. That's the managerial challenge. And they are determined, actually these legitimate claims and expectations are determined by a very complex social, cultural and political factors, which we can call the evolving ethos at a particular point in time and location. So, the question is how to get in there, get in the businesses at the industry and farms level, work at the interface of state and society, and thereby generate value augmentation business activities or value augmented business activities for augmentation of value. As I said, that this is an alliance, alliance of the resource providers. Farms resources, you can see this circle, farms resources are combined with institutional and social resources such as trust, work ethic and quality of human resources. This is a cultural resource of a particular location at a point in time. They are combined to create this business alliance, which actually produce, when these business alliances they start transacting at the interface of society, institutions and business, at this intersection, the triangular intersection, when they transact business, they develop what is called legitimacy capital. And this legitimacy capital is generated through a self-reinforcing feedback mechanism which work through the alliance. This core is the alliance, this red core is the alliance, and the resources that are put together in the alliances. And the business activity, each transaction is creating, giving feedback on the farm's resources, and that those farm resources are again generating legitimacy capital. And this is not only reinforcing the existing alliance, but it reinforces also, it actually changes the boundaries of the constraints through a upper level formation of legitimacy capital, which goes beyond the farm level. So once this is the national level legitimacy capital, that feeds back on the farms resources, the resources that farms can organize through the financial institutions, institutional resources, and the human quality of human resources, trust, work ethic, etc. So at a larger level, at a more aggregated level, this works to reinforce the legitimacy capital of each individual farm each individual farm generates. And this legitimacy capital grows through this self-reinforcing feedback mechanism, and this growth is pictured by the growth of the triangular region and the growth of the legitimacy capital, the core legitimacy capital here. The difference between this kind of business model and the neoclassical business model is neoclassical farm works at the interface of the competitive market. The farm resources and competitive market institutional resources are put together to generate the objectives for which the farm carries out business. Here, society comes into the picture, and the legitimacy capital is developed. There, the legitimacy capital is not social legitimacy capital. That's at the farm level, there is a legitimacy capital which is at the farm level. They can claim that the profit is the right objective of a business, and that sustains the business, and that's good. That is also a legitimate objective. But its legitimacy is confined to the neoclassical notion of that the business can be done only by the independent bakers, brewers, and the butchers. But the fact of life is these bakers, brewers, and butchers do not work independently to generate their business outcome. So, if you in the real life, since you work with societal resources, society has a legitimate claim and valid expectations from the business, which if you don't fulfill, it will generate conflict. And if you have this kind of an outcome, business outcome, there is no conflict. So this is the legitimacy capital in picture, captured in photograph. This is a very beautiful outcome of business, because this business is working at the interface of society, state, and also individual industry, that is telecommunication industry. So I must define now. There is define the way actually. This is not a definition of legitimacy capital. You have understood what legitimacy capital is. But what I say that the mechanism of its development is through the consecutive acts, the series of acts of firms in discharge of their obligations and responsibilities towards host state and society or community, and managing effectively the legitimate needs and aspirations of society, community, and the conforming to the political ethos of the local government. This is not possible unless business alliances are formed with state and society. But effective alliances cannot be formed because of knowledge deficits about the legitimate needs and aspirations of the society. The foreign manager doesn't know the legitimacy, doesn't have any idea about the legitimacy of the needs and aspirations of the vegetable vendor. So they will have no idea that spreading this service among this community at say 2 cents per minute creates a huge positive feedback for the entire farm and the industry. And that is what has happened in India. Telecommunication industry has grown because of development of a huge legitimacy gap. So I have no time now. I have the paradox of alliances is that it doesn't farm level. the alliances doesn't form, so but there is no incentive, and only this can be formed through development of legitimacy capital. And I will just mention about one thing, that transnational businesses, they are operated at suboptimal level because of the higher knowledge deficit, and this is the reason why global capital is not being optimally invested. Instead, it is going to the stocks and bonds. It is going to buy gold. For example, it's absolutely ineffective and inefficient allocation of resources. It's all because people do not know that a gold mine is waiting for them in emerging economies, and they don't want to. The managers do not want to take risk and form business at the interface between state and society. Thank you.
I guess everybody knows I'm Arvind Bhimani. I'm very glad to be here, but it's not because of my current job, though of course I'll be happy to discuss economic matters, but it's because I have a keen interest in international relations. So given the limited time, let me just start. I'll take off from where Vice President Mori said something interesting about changing Asia. Now, in 2004, I did projections about the global evolution of the global economy and power structures. And these are available on my website and where I actually did them, which had nothing to do with my job in the government. But what I predicted at that time was that the rise of China will be much faster than anybody was anticipating. And one of the references I gave was the US National Intelligence Council estimate of 2004. And if you go back and compare what I said in my paper with that, you will see what I mean. We don't have the time to go into details, but one of the implications was, as I put it, that the world would become bipolar by 2025. In a follow-up paper in 2005, again, which is available in various places, I did the same for India. I said the rise of India, which I think still people do not realize, will also be faster than most people. And for that, you can refer to the US NIC of 2008 and see how it evolves over the next 5 years. Now, it turns out, perhaps partly luck, but I don't think so. It turns out my original forecast of 2004 are exactly on track when I redid everything in 2011. Now, why do I give this background? The reason is one of the important conclusions of that paper was that a stable balance of power in Asia will be critical to global peace. And then I went on in a paper which was written in 2006 in EPW, the Economic and Political Weekly of India, to draw out some of the implications. The question was, what can we do to ensure that there is a stable, peaceful Asia, because that will be critical to all the countries of Asia and to outsiders, including the US. But before I come to that, I just want to briefly give you a little basis for these projections. You know, you might think that I predicted that India would grow faster just because I'm an Indian. So let me give you a little bit of fact. I have gone back, it was based on my work on, much of my academic work has been on economic growth and the study of high growth economies. And I've gone back and I'm redoing some of the high growth, the growth type of work right now. And let me give you a few facts which kind of support and give you an idea of what those projections were all about. Again, very briefly, there have been about 40 high growth economies. I define high growth economies as those with growth of per capita GDP of more than 7% for a period of 10 years or more. In history, at least the history as far as we have the data, there have been 40 such countries. Currently, there are only about 3. As of 2011 data, China, as you all know, is one of those. And then I define what I call potential high growth economies, which are those which have grown for a decade or more at more than 6%. This is per capita GDP, not the GDP numbers you normally see all the time. So who are the, and again, the numbers are quite limited. In historical perspective, there have been about 35 such countries. Most of them didn't attain the high growth status. But what are the current potential high growth economies? Well, there are again about 3 or 4, and one of those is India. And just to finish this part of the story, the number is that within the last 10 years, India's per capita income has doubled. Now, to give a perspective on that, in the previous, this happened in the previous 20 years, the income has doubled. So the pace of change in India has become incredible. If you think about the implications of that, that means the average person, his income will double within a generation as against over 2 generations. So people can see the economic change happening right in front of their eyes. They can feel it. You know, it's not, they don't have to read about it. That's the kind of change which is happening, which very few people, unfortunately, even our own politicians in India, but that's not the subject of this meeting, so I won't go into that. I'm not appreciating this fact. Okay, in the limited time available, I want to draw out some of the implications for the topic which you are addressing. So the question was, what can we do to reduce the probability of conflict in Asia, which clearly is good for everybody, for business and everybody else. And one of the implications which I put down in the paper, which I had concluded even earlier, was an Indo-US partnership. And among the elements of that was the nuclear agreement. The only thing, and I am always very open in acknowledging, my probability of that happening was very low at that time. So the fact that it happened so quickly was also a surprise to me. Though that was one of the things I listed. It's there in my paper, you can see, among other things like economic cooperation. Now, and the second one, which is again relevant for here, was that we need, well, let me put it in a slightly different perspective. Given the cultural diversity in Asia, you know, we've often had over the past these discussions of can we have Asian common market or something similar to Europe. And what I concluded was, and everybody used to say this, there's too much diversity in Asia for this to happen. So one of my conclusion was that we need to have greater interaction among the major countries of Asia, because of these differences. You needed to understand. I'll give you an example of how critical that is. But and that is the issue of Tibet and the Dalai Lama. You know, so what is the issue? Well, I think the Chinese cannot understand that India has been an open religious and cultural society for centuries. There have been all kinds of religions and others coming into India. You name the religions, the Baha'is, the Jews, think of any religion. We've always been an open society. They have come and lived in India without being harassed or hindered. And that is the spirit in which most Indians see the Dalai Lama as a cultural and religious leader. It has nothing to do with politics. But you know, the Chinese way of looking at it is completely different, and they don't understand it. So what we have to increase understanding. You have to have cooperation. But the second element of this was that even the other aspect was the democracies, like Japan. So that was the third leg in a way. That we need interactions at all levels, because again there are many cultural differences where we still don't fully understand, and therefore the knowledge which I think you have referred to, others have referred to, because of this lack of understanding between, let's say, Japanese businessmen and India, there is not enough interaction. So I fully endorse the purpose of your institution, that we must increase this interaction at all levels, different people, NGOs, business, wherever we can, if we want greater interaction. Now, just a few practical suggestions. I don't want to overstep my time. Some of the suggestions I made in that was one, for example, if you look at the European history, it started with the coal and steel community. So one thing we had suggested in that paper was a kind of oil and gas community in India. I still think that's a valid issue, given that oil prices affect Japan, India so dramatically, the access to oil, gas, etc. I think that is something which is worth thinking about and pursuing further. Another aspect is the different demographics of Japan and India, and this has two implications. I'll just conclude with that to stay within my time. One is in the area of services. That is, there will be a lack of people in Japan. There will be a lot of people in India because we are on the demographic upswing, and therefore labor-intensive services. And one of them, for example, just to put out, is nursing homes. You know, in principle, again, these ideas need to be explored. But just to stimulate thinking, for instance, in 6 months of winter, the old people in Japan could live in nursing homes in India. It's warmer, much more pleasant, and so on. So you could have a service industry in which Japanese invest. It's just an idea. There are many such ideas you have to think of. Well, that's the business of business, not mine. Mine is to stimulate thinking. Could be like that. The other aspect is technology. We know from research that most technological development, well, the paper I remember is on physics. The results of that was that most innovation in physics occurs at a very young age. So the people who are involved in innovation are generally less than 29 years old. And as you probably know, India is going to have probably the largest proportion of young workers in the world, or even the size. And so technological development and cooperation, in fact, between US, Japan, and India is another such area. Well, let me conclude with that. I think I've stuck within 10 minutes. Thank you. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Yeah, yeah.
Two questions, one for you, one for Professor Kobayashi. You mentioned this legitimacy capital, you developed the notion of legitimacy capital. And you talk about different institutions, government and public and private, and your notion of legitimacy capital is very much related to the discussion of different stakeholders. Stakeholder notion.
Yeah.
In other words, basically your legitimacy corresponds to the fact that different stakeholders have a say in the matter. The legitimacy derives from the fact different stakeholders are able to do that. So that's a whole literature there.
Yeah.
Of stakeholder.
Yeah.
Mostly applied with reference to the private businesses, but also can be extended here. That's a comment I have. On Professor Kobayashi's paper, I thought it's a very stimulating paper. Before I could open my mouth, the time for a question was over. You distinguish, you say, the R&D notion in creativity, which we have been essentially talking about for the last 20 years. Did I hear you say that it's being kind of replaced by create and legitimate and create and validate? In other words, in the Facebook fashion, if people create, other people validate it. It's not a formal process, but a tribal process of validating across Facebook and things like that. I want to understand that.
Yeah. So on stakeholder, the difference between the stakeholder theory and the framework that I have developed is that the stakeholder theory and the enlightened stakeholder theory of Michael Jensen. The Freeman developed this stakeholder theory, and then it has taken, through Clarkson's principle, it has taken the normative route. This is a positive description of business. This is not a normative description of business. I'm basically saying that these alliances cannot be held because of these problems, the farm level alliances. Stakeholders theory, it's a normative thing because it says that they are, society and community are also stakeholders, and therefore they should be given their the share of the pie. That's all the stakeholders say, essentially. Yeah, so far. And Jensen, Professor Jensen, what he did was, he brought the issue of value maximization. And he says that if it is not, value is not maximized at the farm level, the normative approach of, or the strategic management approach of having the balanced scorecard will not help at all. So you have to have a notion of, you give the business outcome a value function, single value function, and maximize that. If you do not do that, you will never, there will be no way of enforcing the manager to maximize that value. Of course, what he said is stakeholder theory, he agreed stakeholder theory in the sense that it has shifted the focus from profit to value. But at the same time, he says you should not have this scorecard kind of a table to ensure that managers are arriving, conforming to the stakeholder theory. You should have a single valued function and measure it. But then you have to give weightage to the different aspects of business, and that is very problematic, and that will create a whole lot of confusion and controversy. That's why I think the literature is at this stage. So what I deviated from this literature in the sense that I'm saying that this is a positive theory. All businesses are alliances. And it has to have a state-society interface with the financial resource provider. So there is no question of should here. They are ingrained. If such alliances are not formed, it will not be stable and sustainable. That's all.
Thank you for raising questions. And it's a pity I have say little time to explain, what is say my key concept. Okay, but say in order to say answer your questions, it's worthwhile, say classifying the notions, dialectic process and dialogue process. Okay. And say market economies, say major say paradigms based upon say dialogue, say mechanisms. Producer makes say R&D, okay, and say innovate new qualities, okay. Consumer validate, say the quality of the consequence of the say R&D, okay. And this is a very typical, say market situations. But say coming say business model, emerging business model is a little bit different. So it's say standard say dialectic notions. Okay, so it means producers and consumers say jointly produce services. Okay, and say consumer say should say. Or let me take some examples. If you go to the Japanese restaurants or sushi bar, okay, not running sushi bars, say real sushi bar in our countries. Okay, so say customers say evaluate, of course, suppliers' qualities. Okay, but at the same time, suppliers, okay, say teach customers. Okay, so it's a kind of say R&D process taking place in both sides, producer and customers. Okay, so social interactions make a new, say notion, new ideas, or say new product. So I mean, so this is a kind of say dialectic processes. Okay, it's a completely different. Okay, and say I have no time, to explain the details, on these notions. Okay, maybe somewhere I will discuss with you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for I'm French national, resident in Norway, and if you allow me, I was involved in about 8 agreements, including local community, Scandinavian municipality with Gifu Prefecture in Japan. Also big corporation like Hitachi setting up joint companies, one in Sweden, one in Norway, and so on. Okay, and members of UNESCO task force, this part is financed by Japan. Problems we had before Koizumi government were different after Koizumi government. One of the big issues, and therefore my main question is, are you going to continue this research to include case studies like Scandinavian countries with Japan, with USA? Because if you pursue this, there is huge potential. I measure it by the failures we had. Hitachi is an extraordinary company. We set up joint companies in local communities, one in Norway, one in Sweden. But the connection between government in Japan and the corporations, government in Japan and prefectures, work very differently before Koizumi government and after Koizumi government. Like you may know about Gifu Prefecture, a lot of investment, a lot of efforts, and everything collapsed overnight. So the predictability, as soon as we talk about business, we have to work on it, research this further. Japan has a huge potential. I don't know at all India, unfortunately, but this model has big potential. Much effort has to be done to get involved. And my question, do you intend to get involved Europe or European countries? Of course, Scandinavia is very different from France. I was involved also in an agreement, NEC and France, and also space industry. But this connection with, I repeat, if I may, government, local community, business, how it works, how to make them converge to some synergy. They are very different from country to country. It has to be worked out. And here, Professor Kobayashi, your thinking is very important. I'm invited by China now for the first World Congress in Cultural and Creative Industries. And these are big issues. So my second question, are you going to get involved China also in your thinking, your research?
Okay, thank you. Yes, the last question is very hard to answer. I can say yes, okay? But now this is the first situations, okay? Now I wish to concentrate, okay, to establish some platform for new researches, okay? So we wish to start from very small communities. So later on, okay, we wish to expand our network, inviting many countries, okay, like start.
If I can add, actually, why we picked up democratic countries is this, that basically value creation is nothing but reflection of people's tastes and preferences and needs and aspirations. And in a democratic framework, people's needs, aspirations, preferences, tastes are reflected through the state instruments and institutions. And it is easier for businesses to see that reflection and make an alliance. And that is why it is efficient if the country is democratic, because state institution, there is already an interface of state and the community and the society there. So it is easy for the businesses to come and form an alliance at that interface. Yes, yes, it is a question. You have a question, right?
Can I ask you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. My name is Takeuchi of Johns Hopkins University. I'm also a Japanese journalist, and I have experience in working in India as a bureau chief of Japanese newspaper. So I appreciate this forum. because it's a triangle cooperation is very important, and it should be. We should have a synergy effect, more than bigger effect than we have bilateral relation. We have trilateral relations, so that we need to accelerate the business opportunity more and expand our business activity. But actually, I'm very much interested in nuclear cooperation between three countries. It's triggered. It's motivated by US-India nuclear deal. It has been already 7 years. It was agreed in Bush administration. But looking at the situation, even in bilateral relations, US-India, it is not active so much. So I exemplified the factor that is India's nuclear liability law. It is very difficult. It's very unique law, but it's very difficult for Westinghouse or General Electrics to invest big money into India. So then my idea is that so this act has been reflected by the some sentiment of opposition parties of BJP or the other parties. It is anti-America or anti-colonial sentiment. So then, my suggestion is that you make use of the factor of Japan. Japan is also, now negotiating the nuclear agreement with India, and Japanese companies also, it will be influenced by this liability arrangement. So then, that is my idea, but I'd like to ask in particular Mr. Rai and Mr. Virumani, such a cooperation. That is just an example of the trilateral cooperation. I'd like to ask you a question.
Yeah, thank you. I think you have to be very careful. Actually, this is something which Japanese and Indians should understand, because since the US-India nuclear agreement, two things happened. One was the issue of the Bhopal gas tragedy blew up in India. So in a democracy, it's not just the governments and the politicians who decide. You cannot ignore the people. And same on the Japanese side. You should know. I mean, the Indo-Japan nuclear cooperation is being held up because of your historical experiences and the public perception. And of course, the new thing which happened in your case is Fukushima. And that has influenced not only the Japanese people, it's influenced the Indian people actually. Because those who are against nuclear energy have also used this. So, having said that, so the thinking public in India still thinks that it's in Indian interest, it's in mutual interest, and therefore the government has said that we will, it takes time to do these things, to build the public opinion, but the government is very clear on this issue that they will do everything to make sure that the end result is something which is completely consistent with the international rules on this matter. But I agree it will take time, but it's going to take time to have the Indo-Japan agreement. In fact, as far as the political thing is concerned, it should be much easier to have Indo-nuclear, to start Indo-Japan rather than Indo-US, though you exaggerated the anti-US sentiment, but there is a little bit of that, and there is no such thing in the case of India-Japan, and therefore this actually should be much easier, given that Japanese companies can say, well, we understand your concerns, because we have been subjected to these ourselves. So that is critical. You should press for completion of that. There the hesitation is on the Japanese side, not the Indian side.
So we should break for lunch now, because we have already exceeded the time.
Oh, yes,
Yeah, you
let me add one thing. Say the legitimacy capitals, capital raise. This is a very central concept in this workshop. Okay, but when we talk, legitimacy is very difficult, to handle. Okay, when we discuss legitimacy, one important central question always arises: whose legitimacy? That is a very important question. Okay. So legitimacy is owned by single entities, not by. Or is there any global legitimacies? It's very
the legitimacy of the paper that I discussed. Legitimacy was, say, for example, in the case of that Haldia Petrochemicals and Suzuki Motor Corporation, there are two legitimate. The union of objective. The objective of firm and the state was the same. In the case of Suzuki Motors Corporation versus Maruti, the objective was, common objective was to develop a component industry which will generate employment for the economy, and to develop people's car or fuel efficient car. These are the two common objectives. Now what happened was to see whether the business outcome that has happened are in consonance with that those common objectives. If it is so, then the legitimacy capital is developed around that business. So that is the notion. In the case of Haldia Petrochemical, the central theme was industrial rejuvenation of West Bengal and creating employment opportunities. That was the central theme, where all the partners agreed to have that common objective. But one of the partners behaved in such a manner that clearly showed that he is representing the private equity firm's interest, not having the long shadow of the future, which, the FDI's definition, the definitional attribute is the lasting interest. And they did not show that they have lasting interest in the company. And therefore Supreme Court said that that this is wrong totally, and they did not accept their claim, and the verdict went in favor of the West Bengal government. So, Haldia Petrochemical case, the foreign partner failed to develop the legitimacy capital, while in Suzuki Motors Corporation, the foreign partner could develop the legitimacy capital, and therefore the alliance was sustained. And in this case, alliance could not be sustained because of the failure to develop legitimacy concept. That's it. Okay, thank you very much.